no fighting.
And
He
we're
didn't go up
live.
again.
BRB.
Everything just worked.
Live.
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 You forgot to take the build a story bit out.
Did I?
So
Where?
it
Oh,
says
yes.
we're streaming the Bookwyrms Lair
I
presents
am
Build a
sorry.
Story, Neurodivergence in Fiction. We're not. There's no story
Ah,
building tonight, I'm afraid, peeps.
I'm sorry. I didn't read correctly.
Eesh,
I will
okay.
fix.
We have to build the neurodivergent.
Oh god.
I mean, that shouldn't be super hard. You just grab parts from us and you're done.
Yeah, but could
basically.
you imagine like a little bit
there's
of
no
all
plot,
of
it's just,
our
like,
neurodivergence
7
in
different-
one person? That'd be terrifying.
I can imagine that, and I hope such a monstrosity is never released upon the world.
We may have a mittens by the end of the night.
A mittens? He's going to grace us with his presence?
Yep, he moved his computer, so now he's able to join without causing any, like,
Oh, yay.
crossing or anything like that.
Awesome.
So.
Well, first of all, hello, people.
Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And, before we begin on neurodivergence in fiction, guess what I did this weekend?
Red?
I read.
Relaxed.
I read a lot.
Mhm.
I have read both books of months.
Oh, you.
So, I'm like, I hope that you guys enjoyed them, because I thoroughly enjoyed both of them.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm not going to give spoilers, but one of them ties slightly into our conversation tonight, which I didn't know before reading it, which I thought was quite interesting. So, you can expect some spices, but not in the
Not in the smut sense.
smut sense. In the brain spicy sense.
Mm.
Yeah, I did. So I did. Friday, I read A Dead and Stormy Night, which I've read before, which was on one of our picks, but I wanted to read it again. So I read that, and then started A Little Red Death. Read that yesterday. Could not put it down. And then last night I started reading The Games Gods Play, and I finished that today.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh no, why was he begging you to DNF it?
I was.
Ame has put in chat.
Mhm.
Whereabouts are you in your French learning on Duolingo at the moment?
Not far. Since I've had a week of low energy and like in general just low.
Yes, you're welcome for our friend quest.
Thank you. I'm
Again.
on section 1, unit 7 still.
Oh yeah, so you know how you've written croissant like 1,000 times?
No, I know. No. No.
You've got about 3,000 more to go.
I know. I
And
don't.
then they'll add
I
in
don't.
some extra ones. And you'll be
I
like,
just-
oh great, I'm sick to the back teeth of this now as well.
You know what? To mange une orange will live in my head forever, and I don't want it to.
No,
I hate
again,
it.
no, but like, for me, it's tu es un cheval. Just, are you a horse? I'm probably never ever going to ask somebody that, but it was one of the first things you learned on Duolingo was how to ask someone, are you a horse?
Are you a horse?
And then later on you get, la vache regarde les trains chaque jour, which is the cow watches the
no.
trains every day. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm so glad I have this information about cows watching trains. On a daily basis, that's a routine. It's a very, very routine cow.
I can I say kinda because I probably don't get the pronunciation right, order coffee and milk in Irish now because of Duolingo.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah, speaking
Liz.
of,
Hello.
so in French we talk about oranges, croissants, and horses, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Ember has started taking Swedish. They talk about coffee, beer, and tea.
And bread.
And bread.
Yeah, when I
and
did it, it
bread.
was just
That
like
is-
bread, beer,
Same thing as
bread,
Norwegian.
coffee. I was like, oh,
Yep.
okay. I know. I love that because I've done quite a few languages on Duolingo now, and
Mhm.
everyone has their own little unique food grouping that they're like, these are the only things you'll ever ask for in this country, like ever. You want to go to Sweden, you're getting bread and beer. You want to go to France, you're getting croissants, oranges, and wine.
Yep. No, I haven't even gotten wine yet.
Oh no! But then you get to the point
Mine
where
is,
I'm going to the cafe to have a coffee.
Mhm.
Is au café en café because cafe and
Oh.
coffee is the exact
The
same word.
artistic word. Yeah, I know.
And you're like, should we go for a coffee at the cafe? Yeah, I'll have 2 coffees, please. And it's just, I'm just shouting cafe on repeat at someone.
I updated the
Mine is-
VC chat to say live in Twitch.
Thank you.
That's fair.
Oh, God. We never remember that one.
Mhm.
That's the one thing I remember to do all the time
It's
because
the one thing we always forget to do.
It's the one thing I
Mhm.
have to remember to do because some of my discords are not. If I don't put it, someone will say something to get someone banned. So I remember
Oh,
to put
see,
it all the time.
I'm either very lucky or book club are very scared of me because we actually don't have that problem.
Yes.
It actually is a
Yeah.
rule that you have to put it in the description on this server.
No, there's not a rule for it.
Nope.
There's a suggestion, but like I know it's
It's,
written in the rule, but it's
Yeah.
written as a suggestion. I know the rule.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And we suggest
It's
you
more,
put
yeah,
in
it's
that you're
more
live
a
on-
if you put in the tagline that you're live on Twitch, then someone can't come in and say something and be like, "Oh, I didn't know."
Yeah.
So it covers your back.
We had a question about it earlier today. Hi, Luki, by the way.
We have a
We
Riku.
wanna-
Hi,
And a
Luki.
Riku.
Okay,
Nice.
this
Scare
time,
somebody, why
we
don't
have,
you?
We have a Liz, we have a Luki, we have a Riku. Hello, hello. Ame, I kind of said hi to you by answering what you said in chat, but also hello.
And we will have a
Hello,
mitten
everybody.
No,
shortly.
see, Ember has said that people respect me. There's a difference. Respect is boring. I want them to fear me. Be scared. Be afraid. Very afraid.
I will admit you scare me to an extent,
Joyfully
but
terrifying.
it's not in a way. But it's not in a way like you don't scare me to the point where I'm not going to talk to you. You scare me in a way of
I don't want you to
I
not
know
talk
you
to
have
me.
power.
Oh, yeah, I want you to talk to me. You have to be my friends. Just I just also want you to fear crossing me.
Oh, we've been
Well,
told to
I am
hydrate.
an unpredictable being. Hydrate 3 times. I've had to open an entire can of Pepsi for this.
Ugh.
Pepsi Max, I should say, because
Un momento.
sugar bad.
I'm sorry, did
Doing it while we're live.
No matter how much I turn it down, we always hear it
So loud.
redonkulously loud.
He wants to be loud too.
Yeah.
Well, Ember also said he is enjoying the fantasy book of the month.
No, I really like both of them actually, and I'm hoping that is the case throughout, because it would be really nice to have an uber positive month. But Little Red Death, I have to say, I could not put down, and it's not very often that twists in books catch me off guard. But I was gleefully surprised. Where the fuck are you?
Oh, speaking of twists
Oh,
in
mitten.
book,
Oh, go ahead.
the challenge to write out theories of a book.
Mhm.
Does it have to be a thriller, dark fantasy, and or mystery, or could it be any book?
It can
It
be any
wasn't supposed
book.
to be.
Yes, it was supposed to be read something along these, essentially something where you're gonna get like that twist.
I just wanted to double check because
But-
then I can actually.
Technically
Post
speaking,
what I
we are
wrote.
allowing people to kind of read something
Whatever.
and just give us
Yeah.
a prediction on what you think is going to happen, and then were you right, were you wrong? If you were right, how were you right? If you were wrong, how were you wrong?
Good. Then I can post my little Google note I did yesterday. I started writing theories at 19% of the book, and then kept reading, and then I finished the book a couple of hours later and was like, well, I was partially right. I was not right about this, and this one hasn't been confirmed or denied yet.
There we
I
go.
have to read the second book. It
When
has
you
been
read?
confirmed in the second book though, so
You read Dead and
I-
Stormy Night, didn't you?
yeah.
Did you
Also,
like it?
I hate that I was right.
Yeah,
right.
I know.
was a
That one wasn't a book.
I
where
love
was
the book.
Like,
I love the book.
the
It's great.
mystery is mysterious here.
But yeah, like who did it is just. I feel like
I'm going to get and upload the next. I think all 4 are out now, so you should have all 5 books now. Have as an honourable mention, we do now have the next part of, or the next 2, because the 3rd one's not out yet. Philip Pullman's.
No.
Why no? No. Why are you knowing me?
We are talking about this on Tuesday.
Oh, pff. Fine. Excuse me a second.
But yeah, I had read like 5% on Friday, and read the rest of it yesterday, and then I read about 45% of the next book. And then my house boss went like, "Are you staying up reading all night?" And I was like, "Maybe I shouldn't."
Oh,
read all
I slept for like 2 hours last night.
I'm sorry.
But I got loads of reading done, so I'm like, tomato.
Tomorrow. Should we dive into our neurodivergence in fiction topic?
Yes. Oh, sorry, Une, I was wrong. There looks like there's 9 of them. 10 of them.
Oh. How? No, I don't.
Dead and Stormy Night, Of Mice and Murder, Pride and Premeditation, Memoirs of a Garrotter, Pros and Cons, A Novel Way to Die, Much Ado About Murder, Crime and Publishing, Plot and Bothered, and then a novella of How Heathcliff Stole Christmas.
Okay, you know what? I'd read that.
I'm gonna.
Not
yeah,
entirely
I'm
sure
gonna-
I can do 10 books.
They're all quite short, though, I will say.
That is true. But I have a hard time reading that many books from like anything really.
That's fair. But yeah, I'll add them all.
Yay.
Also, she has another book series called The Smutty Book Coven. So we might have to add them as well. If you like murder
That sounds-
mystery meets a Why Choose reverse harem, I highly recommend A Dead and Stormy
yeah,
Night. Because it's like hot men from classic literature meets.
I first understood if you like murder mystery and meat. I was like, I like that.
Yes. If you like a good steak
been
and a
literal.
murder, perfect.
That's not the meat I thought of, but yeah, sure.
I think Mori would love to do that. A steak and some murder.
If somebody tests Pedro again, I've turned it down to 25%, so it shouldn't be.
I've got you.
Salem, why are you playing with the arm? Give me a moment.
There you go. I have so many. Oh yes, I was reading, by the way, Lunaria by Cara Douglas. I would highly recommend. I saw the title of it and I went like, you know what, I'm reading this. I had it on my Kindle. I didn't even know. I knew it was like fantasy romance-esque, but that was the only thing I know. But based on the name, I went like, I have to read this now. So, and then I tried to be like, try to tell Ember what it was about, and I was like, yeah, book, good, read, yes.
That's not how you spell that.
Our children.
Oh, doing my nutting. Yes, I know. Be right back.
Anyone else read anything fun lately?
I have started trying to read Robin Hobb again, which has been fun. I forgot she has quite a complex writing style, I think is the best way to describe it. So it's been interesting to get back into. It's much more of a like politically driven fantasy. But the sort of different types of magic and the setting and everything is really good, and the way that the politics interplays with like the lineage and everything is really interesting. But they've come up with quite a unique, not unique, but sort of fun kind of. The royals are essentially named after the quality that they should inherit. So you have like the protagonist's father is Prince Chivalry.
Oh, that sounds
and
fun.
However, the prince goes and has an affair, which is how the protagonist is obviously born, so he's a bastard. And the whole thing is like, then there's this like controversy of like, is that actually true? Because that was the whole like myth of it in the beginning, and it's really fun. So it's been nice to revisit that, because I read that ages ago. It's been years, so yeah, that's kind of been what's on my radar at the minute. Ari is also still begging me to finish the fourth one.
Yeah.
They said thank you.
You have to. I'm making Mittens read it when
See,
it comes out. Graphic novels. I'm not giving him a choice.
There's a Mittens here now. Yay!
There is a Mittens.
Hello, Mittens.
Hello, Mittens.
Ew.
I was letting the guy with the voice do the talkie.
The guy with the voice.
The guy with the voice. Is that the guy? Is that a good voice? Is that a bad voice? Is that a compliment or an insult? Like, how am I? Are you hitting on me or putting me down?
It is. It is my brain shut off on words in English, and that's the best I could come up with.
You have
Fair enough.
awestruck him to the point you have now turned into the guy with the voice.
The guy with the voice. The goose with the voice.
The goose with the voice.
There
The
you go,
goose
goose with the voice.
I have found a new obsession courtesy of Costco.
Okay.
They are
Ooh,
like
what would that be?
pretzel thins, and you get a giant bag of them. And they're really, really salty and really, really great. And I'm like, you addictive little fuckers.
Ari went to go hang paintings and came back with 200 quid's worth.
Hello, motherfucker! Yes. Because that's
Did
what you
get for sending
do
her by herself?
when you go to Costco.
You
I'm
also
very
don't
glad
send
we
her to
don't.
Costco by yourself.
No, we have Costco.
She went with her.
I was
her
gonna
mother.
say I'm glad we don't have
Oh.
a membership so we can actually access Costco.
Okay.
No.
Do you want a membership?
You
No,
should
I don't want
you
a
should
membership.
absolutely get a membership. It's so worth it. First of all,
It-
free samples. Best thing ever.
Right.
You just
Oh,
walk around and they're like,
yeah,
do you
they're
want some cake? Do you want some pasta salad? Do you want like this piece of steak? What do you want?
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
sorry. Mind you, I have to go 50 minutes by bus.
Oh no, that's fair. You don't have a car either. Also,
No.
fucking Lou! Lou! Sorry, this is one of my
Oh god, yeah, this is a
IRL
longtime
friends
friend of ours.
who has shown herself. My darling, my dearest, my love, my Lou. You have made it. You are here.
So this is a friend of ours that we knew originally from Final Fantasy XIV.
Who is also
and who is
a
now
very, very awesome Twitch streamer. If you like
yes.
crazy Scottish gamer girls.
Who
Highly.
doesn't like crazy Scottish
Exactly.
gamer girls?
Highly
Add them
recommend.
to follow.
I'll just do the same thing.
You are my best friend, which is true. But yes, she is linked on my profile. So if you see X Luli on my Twitch profile, this is Luli. And she is hilariously fun to watch on Twitch, so you absolutely should. And she has 3 dogs as well, who often make the rounds.
Make appearances.
Are all 3 of them my nieces and nephews now, or am I just still... Is it just my boys or my nephews? Because I feel like I need to be Auntie Ari to Storm as well.
Oh yeah, you has a husky question mark? No?
I heard Costco and had to comment that you can't not talk about Costco. I love Costco. I was like, I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna get kitchen roll and loo roll because they're always worth buying in Costco because they last you forever and they cost nothing. And then I was like, well, I may as well get laundry stuff while I'm there as well because that's just worth it. And then Sai needed some shoes, so I was like, fine, I'll have a look and see if they've got shoes. So I got him shoes. And then they were like, oh, do you want a box of pain au chocolats that's like 30 for £4? And I was like, yes. Yes, I absolutely do. So I got that. And then I also got cookies because you can't not get cookies. And then I bought flavoured water because the kids will drink water if it's flavoured. And what else did I buy? The cookies are, oh my god. The pain au chocolats were fucking banging as well. Sai and I had like 4 of them each this morning.
Not to make this into an actual book club stream, but neurodivergence in fiction.
Rude. This is neurodivergence in fiction. I am fiction
Yes.
and
Okay.
I am
Yeah.
neurodivergence.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. Fair
No,
enough.
so we are
I
going to
get-
talk about neurodivergence, especially representation, either from the author themselves or in characters. One of the first things I want to ask you guys about is representation versus tokenism. So how can you tell when a neurodivergent character has the depth and nuance rather than just being reduced to a stereotype? Hitting you with the hard questions now, and while you all sit there and go, blame Eli.
Okay, your fault, Eli.
One, fair. And I have an answer to this question, and it's that if the neurodivergence is ever used as an excuse, it is probably a token neurodivergent
Yes.
character. I have yet to find an example
We have a mic.
where we do. We have a mic.
Hello. Yes, I
Hello.
The mic is
Uh,
gravy. We've got a full house tonight.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we do.
Look at all these people.
No,
No,
but
asking you
it's,
shall receive.
Ame has said when their ADHD isn't just, oh my god, squirrel. Which is also fair.
yeah, that's fair. No, but
That's
like,
fair.
if it's ever used as an excuse, it feels like 100% of the time, at least I haven't seen an exception to this rule, that it's a token ND character.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
I'm trying to figure out what I've read fairly recently where there's been representation, but like the closest thing I have is the main character saying they're ADHD and not really showing that they're ADHD.
Mm-hmm. No, I
So
get
it's
that.
like
I think there's a very different way that you can represent a character without just being like, oh yeah, no, haha, I have ADHD, and then having nothing to back it up.
Do what I did earlier, talking to Eli mid-sentence, like, ooh, shiny.
That, to be fair, was very, very funny.
It was.
Or you could
I
just
didn't
have
even
your
realize
brain
I did
shut
it.
off mid-sentence.
You have that happen too much, though.
It's because I have ADHD. It's just like you're done thinking today.
See, I don't get the like, ooh, squirrel. I get the conversation goes from one thing to another 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 over and over
Tangent.
again.
Yeah, tangent.
That's
Yeah.
what's nice is my boss does the same thing to an extent. So I'll say, here's what I did today. Oh, it led to this, and it led to this, and oh, by the way, we need to do this. And he can keep track of me, and it's great.
Nice.
Yeah, I always feel quite
Pretty
sorry
much.
for Sai having to put up with my ADHD because he's like I want to do this thing so I can zone out and just disconnect my brain and it's like no thoughts, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I do this thing and I think of 12,000 other things and then just blurt them out at random moments with no preamble as to what I'm talking about. So you should just be able to keep up with my thoughts. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm very happy most people I hang out with at a regular basis. That sounds
On
so
a
weird.
regular basis.
On a
Yeah,
regular
thank you.
basis.
Yeah, see, long week.
Exactly
Actually
that,
keep
Amy.
up with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've had some very long discussion about the never saying something out loud part. I am working on it because I am shit at thinking I've said something out loud, but I didn't.
I did the what I call thought hopping today because I sat down at my computer and I was like, I was thinking of Dead and Stormy Night and I was like, okay, there's more books in that series and I want to read what comes next, so I need to go and get them, and then also I want to update them to the library because I know, for instance, that Yune has read them, so I know that she'll probably want to read the next ones, and then it'll be good for anybody that wants them. And then while I was looking at that, I was like, oh, but also it would be really cool if we had a way to update in the Discord when a new book is added to the library, so that you guys got like an immediate announcement to be like, hey, here's this book. And then I was like, okay, I wonder how I go about doing that. So then I'm on ChatGPT and I'm looking at it, and then the next thing, I'm downloading Python and trying to build an app or a bot, something or other. I don't even know what I was trying to do. I was just doing something. That then
You were
went
trying
to
to make a cog.
no,
It's
I think
called a
no, I
cog.
think it was actually a bot.
No, yeah, no. Okay.
Like an
So
actual, like a
Bucket's the
physical.
bot.
Yeah, I was thinking I was trying to
Yeah,
build that, which is probably more than
yeah,
I would have
but
needed. And also, my brain
yes,
was like, I should probably
because
just talk to Shady, because he'll do this in about
yeah,
3 seconds. But yeah,
yep.
from there, I then went, oh, while I'm thinking about that, I also know that I need to update the social media. So I need to definitely look at the differences in social media scheduling platforms. So I'll start looking at those. And while I'm looking at those, I'm also going to see which of the VPNs are the better ones. So I'll research that at the same time. Oh, and then we were talking about partnerships the other day. So I want to go and have a look at a list of not only accounts I can follow that would be good for partnerships, but also brands that would be really good for partnerships. And then, yeah, and then I went full circle back to now I want to read a book. And that was in the space of about 24 minutes.
So just to
That
elaborate
sounds
on
like
the
me.
not saying stuff out aloud or out loud. So Una and I had a conversation this whatever day it was, Wednesday probably. No, Tuesday, where I was like, okay, so I need to know when you're gonna leave. And we literally had a 10-minute conversation where she never answered that question, but kept adding stuff on that was predicated on me knowing the answer to that question.
Like, obviously I told him when I was gonna leave so I can just add on these other things. But apparently I did not tell him when I was supposed to leave.
No, so I
Yeah, I do
sat
that
there
to Sai all the
completely
time.
fucking no, I sat there completely brain broken, going like I am so lost right now. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about because I lack the information you think I have. And she's like, no, I have definitely told you. And I'm like, okay, one, no, you haven't. And two, it isn't on the fucking whiteboard, which it's supposed to be. The fuck is going on?
Well, it was on the whiteboard. I just hadn't put the time
The
on
time,
the whiteboard.
so it wasn't on the whiteboard. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least it was the thing was on the whiteboard. But I had a really good time, so that's good.
I have a new question for you. Do characters need labels to be valid, or does subtext serve its purpose?
I think subtext serves its purpose depending on how it's used.
That was going to be what I said.
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't like to label, I do find enjoyment when characters aren't necessarily labeled as well.
I prefer subtext. Like, don't tell me the person has this neurodivergent trait. Show me.
Okay, but then on the back of that, do you feel that if
Uh-huh.
it's not canon as a label, it leaves it up to interpretation of the person whether they see them as neurodivergent or not, and therefore doesn't class as accurate representation?
No, because surely if a character is done well, you should be able to tell effectively.
But that's always going to be subjective.
I mean, looking at a person is also subjective.
Sherlock Holmes is a massive example of it. A lot of people have said now that from all of the books and all of the TV show and all of the adaptations we've seen, he's definitely a neurodivergent individual, but it's not canon. It's never been said. And okay, part of that is because obviously it was written back in a time where these things did not have the labels they have. But can you use it as accurate representation if it's not a canon label? Also, I mean, that's not a great question for me, because I genuinely do turn around to people and say, hi, I'm Ari and I have ADHD. Usually as a pre-warning to the fact that I'm going to massively overwhelm them in the next 30 seconds of us meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's what you said to me the first time I met you.
More or less.
Yeah.
It's on, I think it's on all my bios. Like, yeah, I think it's one of the first things on like my Discord bio is that I have ADHD. I know it's on my Twitch. It's definitely on my socials. It's not something that I don't think I'm shunnable. Not because they wouldn't try. They probably do. I just don't care either way.
Your accent just came out really hard.
Yeah.
I had to have a conversation with my boss about whether or not I tell clients, like, is it something that I need to put in like an email footer because of how I communicate? I can come across incredibly blunt or dismissive or like just abrupt because I'm like, you're not doing the shit I need you to do it. And he was like, it's completely up to you. I don't think putting in an email footer is necessary, but if you want to mention it in a conversation when you speak to the client, you can do. So normally one of the things I will say to them is, you know, hi, I'm so-and-so, you know, before we get started, you know, how you doing, usual introductions. And then just before we go on, you know, I'm just gonna let you know that I am on the spectrum. Therefore I might communicate in this way, or I might stutter or tangent or say certain things if I speak too fast, because I know that I can speak incredibly rapid when I'm like stressed or under pressure. And I say something that you don't understand, or kind of tangented and not finished a sentence, you know, please feel free to interrupt me and go, can you just repeat yourself? And I will actively explain how to communicate with me. Because I can't expect them to communicate effectively if they don't know how I need them to communicate. And so it's kind of something that I will advertise. But I know that some people, I mean, one of the things that you found when you thought I knew and just didn't want to talk about it when you first met me, didn't you?
Yeah. No, because obviously Sai and I met online. And we became friends quite quickly, and so we talked a lot, both in a main Discord with other people, but also in DMs. And so I very much got hints quite quickly that I was talking to a fellow neurodivergent person, and more specifically somebody who was autistic, because of the way he spoke about things, or the way he would handle certain situations and things like that. But being neurodivergent myself, I know that some people don't want to make it kind of their entire personality. I don't mind. I absolutely love my neurodivergence, and it's not to say that people who don't want to talk about theirs don't love it, but I'm an open person, so I will happily sit and talk about having ADHD to anyone, whether I've known them for 5 minutes or 5 years. It's just part of who I am. But I know that that's not the case for everybody. So I was like, well, I'm not going to mention it to him. I'm just going to continue being an open space for him to speak, and if he feels that he wants to talk about it at any point, he can do. It's obviously not going to change the way I think about him. And then we met in person, and then it dawned on me that I knew he was autistic. He, however, did not know that he was autistic. And so then I had the fun job of being like, so... made more hilarious by the fact that his exact words to me about his friend group at the time was, yeah, it's really funny that everybody in my friend group is neurodivergent and I'm the neurotypical one. And I was like, no. Oh no, baby, no you're not.
You sweet summer child.
Yeah, you sweet summer child, no.
Oh dear.
Jumping back to the question, can you use unlabeled, clearly neurodivergent person as an example? I think so, and even if it's up to interpretation, right? I think it fosters discussion, which is good, because, like Ame hinted at, like you can train people to go like, okay, so Sherlock Holmes is probably, possibly autistic. These are things like markers for that, and then you can like broaden people's understanding.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a good thing that it's up to interpretation.
Obviously, if you give it a label though, and it's a poor representation, you could really fuck with how people view it.
This is this is the catch-22 with it. If you don't label them, it could be great representation, but it could always be up for debate whether it is actually representation because it's never stated explicitly. Mm-hmm. So there's always that, well, I don't see them that way, so I think you're reading into this too much. But then if they are labeled and it's done poorly, it can have a massive impact on the community because it's incorrect representation. And we've seen that in multiple things. And obviously we've seen it with LGBTQ representation in books. We've seen it with POC representation in books. In fact, actually leads me to my next question, which is, when neurotypical authors write neurodivergent characters, is it something that they can ever get right? And should they try? Which is a similar question we asked during last year's Pride Month.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see how people feel.
I think they should be allowed to try under, and it's the exact same stance that I think was taken last time as well with the LGBT. It is, which is they should be allowed to try under the guidance of people who live with that experience. One of the worst things is trying to explain an experience that you have as an individual to someone who doesn't have that experience, because or having someone try to describe your experience when they don't experience them themselves, and hearing people like proclaim themselves as experts or something they've never had to deal with it, and it's like, oh, you can fuck right off.
Well, also, I mean, how many of us have been hit with the, oh, everyone's a little bit ADHD or everyone's a little bit autistic?
Oh, when I went to the hospital, I had a 50-odd-year-old medical professional turn around and tell me that, and they're a fucking specialist in their field, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Thankfully not a specialist in the field of neurodivergence. Thankfully.
Well, and I just want to add something too, is so I'm going to jump back to the question here. If an author were to not even make an attempt, then they're just leaving out representation as well. There's leaving out groups of people for anything, really. There's leaving out groups of people that should be there anyway.
No, absolutely.
And then it becomes poor representation as a whole to begin with.
No, absolutely. But you want to find that balance between
Yeah.
adding
Oh,
someone in as a
absolutely.
token character just because, well, hey, look, now my book has diversity, and also not taking the time and the effort to actually understand who it is you're writing about to make sure that you're attempting to do it justice. And I do think, the same when we had the conversation about Pride Month, I do think it does go a long way if you have an author that's going, I'm not doing this for diversity for the sake of diversity, and I have spoken to people within these communities because I want to make sure the representation is right, because I know that I haven't lived this experience, but I do know that it is important to include it in my world because it's a part of our world. So to leave it out would be wrong. And that, I think, is a lovely thing.
Yes.
I wish we had recorded the LGBTQ or Pride Month one.
We'll revisit it.
No, we will, but
no.
there was a couple. We didn't have as many like amazing chats as we do like now, but there were a couple last year before we started streaming that were. There were ones where I'm
Really
like,
good.
it's such a shame that we never had an ability to catch these, because Pride was one, and when we did, I can't even remember what the topic was called. I just know we renamed it to autism, but make it spirited.
Yep.
And those two are some of the most hilarious, thought-provoking conversations.
The reason why I want Pride Month is because I think if I spliced the audio over what you said and what Sai said, it would have been almost word for word the answer we gave last year.
Pretty much, but again, it's a very similar situation.
Yeah, it is.
In regards to representation. I mean, it's so interesting coming from someone with a late life diagnosis who has gone. I mean, I've worked in care for most of my life. I was a carer for 7 years, and I worked in a secondary school with kids with disabilities and challenging behaviors and stuff. So I've been involved in that sector for ages. But coming into it as someone who doesn't have a diagnosis and doesn't have access to those services because they don't realize they need them, and then swapping to like someone who does need those services, you suddenly you realize before that representation is important, but I don't think you realize the magnitude of it until, again, you're in that position of being like, oh, I need this now, and suddenly it's not available, and why isn't it available? And it's that like you know it's needed, but you don't realize just how impactful having these services is until you need them yourself, and it's quite interesting.
Someone, CM Alonji, she's on TikTok. She has done. She is neurotypical, and has done like a bunch of both like please answer some of my questions directly to her audience, and then more in-depth things with people, so that she can, to the best of her ability, represent both
Neurotypical and neurodivergent.
Yes, as well as oh my
minority.
God. Okay. Yes, in both like people of color and other cultures. Oh my God! Speaking, what even?
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Mike. Okay, so.
Wait, what time is it?
We've got 5 minutes.
Chico time.
Okay,
oh God, not Chico time! Jesus.
It's Chico time.
I don't know if this I don't know if this is a thing in other countries.
I have no idea.
What, the one-hit wonder that was Chico time?
Yeah, so we have a TV show called X Factor.
Yeah,
and I think that made it out. Well, one of the I don't even know if he won or if he just got quite far into it. was, I want to say, a Spanish guy called Chico. And his whole thing was being a bit like Ricky Martin, but cheesier.
Okay.
So if you get the chance and go on YouTube, look up a song called Chico Time. It is ridiculous, but it swept the nation. That and the Cheeky Girls. They were two things that took the UK by some weird level of storm. They're very Eurovision coded, I feel. No. Thank you very much for the sub as well, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do one more question before we go on break, and I go and smother my children with kindness. How often do we see neurodivergent traits portrayed as superpowers versus burdens?
Oh,
More
this,
often
yeah.
superpowers.
I
Like,
told you to blame Eli. We're really going for it tonight. We've got some deep questions.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's the whole. It's very
Thank you
funny.
very
And I know
much,
it's
Ember,
not
for the
books.
bit.
I know it's not books, it's TV, but it's the whole like House versus the Good Doctor. That the comparison comes up a lot. Of like, because obviously there is savant syndrome. But I think the like positives of I say positives as like the quirky like creativity and like hyper awareness and shit gets shown off, but the sensory issues and the actual like not downsides. You know what I'm trying. I don't want to put it in a negative light, but the almost like the challenges of
But
being
there are
neurodivergent.
negatives. Like,
Yeah.
as long as we're
Drawbacks or negatives or
no,
whatever
but
you want to call it.
you can talk about something that has a negative effect on you without it inherently just making things negative. There are parts of being a neurodivergent individual that are fucking hard. Like, it is such a complicated existence to have because every boon has a drawback. And so it is hard. And there are a lot of things when we see representation where they'll bring up like we see it a lot with when they write ADHD characters. It's their brain can connect things at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And you're like, yeah, that's great. But where's I can't finish a train of thought because I'm jumping from everything 1,000,000 miles an hour.
I actually have a thing with this one. In something that I've read, there's a character whose ability was enhanced intuition, right? If they were given information, they could connect it together to make a result. That's what their actual superpower was. But if they were fed wrong information, they would make bad connections. And that is something that happens anyway, too. It's not necessarily a million miles a minute fixes things. It can do the wrong thing, too.
No, exactly. But the same with autism. They have the logical side of things, so they can run through all the steps, they can keep calm and follow a plan, and they can run their lives like an army drill sergeant. But where's the showing that, but the train was late this morning, and that's put my whole day off, and now everything feels wrong, and I can't handle this, and it's overstimulating me and stressing me out. You don't see those sides. It's almost like they cherry pick bits of symptoms.
I'd say almost. I'd say it is.
I say almost because I don't think
Many do.
everybody does it, but there are definitely a lot of cases where they will cherry pick the bits that seem interesting without following it up with the real life drawback of those interesting traits.
So the very first episode of Sherlock, yes, I know it's not a book. Let me run through
Sorry,
it either way.
technically it is a book, but yes.
Okay, yes, but I have read, what's it called? A Riddle in Scarlet or something like that, and it doesn't feature this scene. So, but at the end of I think it's that episode at least. At the end of that episode.
Study in Scarlet, by the way.
Study, thank you. they're all gathered in Sherlock's apartment and everyone is talking around him, and that I think is the only time where he has an outburst and goes, "Shut up, I can't think." And then everyone quiets down and he goes, "Wee, wee, 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 wee," and then he takes the cab and end of episode basically.
Yeah, but I feel that the TV show was very coded into him being, because it was modern, I think they played very much into neurodivergent coding for him.
Yeah.
Where it
But I think that's
wasn't
the
quite
only
as...
time where I think that's the only time I have in my mind, at least, when he actually has the negative of overstimulation.
But also, actually, no, the other part in that is the substance abuse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It quiets my brain and lets me think properly, which is, again, is a massive problem for neurodivergent people, is that addiction is a big thing. Because the stimulus of it tends to be more of a bonus than it does a drawback. But then the drawback is having a crippling addiction to something incredibly dangerous for you, whether it is alcohol or drugs or anything like that. It's a scary line to walk. One that cyanide I've been talking about, every time I say that I hear cyanide in my head and it drives me insane, but I keep saying it anyway. The Goose and I have been talking about recently is The Witcher. I feel that Witchers within the Witcher universe are very autism coded.
I like that.
And I think that mages are very ADHD coded.
I'm thinking through Witchers at the moment. Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, I can see that.
I can totally see that. Yes. Now
I
that you
can
said
see it.
It actually makes so much sense.
We've been watching it again recently, and you're watching it, and it's like we have emotions, but everybody thinks we're entirely emotionless because we don't put them as our first and foremost thought, whereas mages are incredibly emotional. All of their like controlling chaos comes from their emotions and their powers being tied to their emotions, and we don't pick a side. We fall, we're very neutral, but we also have a code, which is why we will take out men we feel are monsters as much as we will just a monster. But it's also why sometimes, even if we're paid to kill a monster, we won't kill it because we don't feel like it needed it. So we have our moral code and we'll follow that. Fuck everybody else.
For me, Witchers have always... Justice. Yeah, for me, Witchers have always been... there's no good word for this. Trauma coded, I guess. But I also know a little too much about the things they go through to become Witchers. So that's probably why.
Yeah, but then part of me wants to say how many of you late diagnosis neurodivergent people have gone through a fuck ton of trauma.
Don't.
Hi.
Hello.
If we did a raise your hands moment, I feel like we'd all be doing the Mexican fucking wave.
Okay, Ari.
Right?
While you are not incorrect in this.
You are technically correct.
No, you are not incorrect in this, and I hate you, every fiber of my being at the moment, actually. However,
it's my favorite kind of hate. Hate because I'm right.
Even if they're trauma coded, that doesn't take away from the fact that they can also be autism coded.
Oh no, I don't disagree. I was making the hilarious connection that most people who have especially late life diagnoses for autism and ADHD usually also have not a bag of trauma. They usually have an airport terminal's worth of trauma.
I prefer a cargo ship's worth.
Yeah, okay, that too, yeah. Whatever language you choose to use, it's usually a metric fuck ton.
Yes.
And yes, Ember has reminded me we were about to take a break, so we will do that and we'll come back to more deep but also some fun questions popped in there too to not drag you right down to the mires.
Also hydrate.
Yes, also hydrate. Grab your teas, your coffees, your who's its and what's its, stretch your legs, and we'll be
I
back in
don't
5.
wanna.
Well,
don't
don't
wanna.
then sit there and wait patiently for 5 minutes. In fact, if you really want something to do, you could watch the adverts that are about to
Ads.
pop up, because they pay for pages.
They do.
See you in 5.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We are back, and I apologize if anyone else can hear the incessant beeping. My house is not on fire. My neighbor has a shitty car.
The question has already been asked.
Oh.
There is
But
no worry.
I'm just informing people that yes,
Yeah.
the horrid noise is his piece of shit Audi. Nothing is burning. Yet. Yay.
Until you burn the car.
It is tempting. Very, very tempting. Because yeah, it does my fucking nutting. Oh, jeez, Louise. We hit our goal. Thank you, Eli.
You're welcome.
And
Thank you, Eli.
congrats to Kovamalia, Vash the Mighty, KS Schultze, Liliza. I don't think I've said that right, Liz. I'm sorry. And Lukovic.
It was okay. Yeah, it was okay.
Enjoy your subs.
Hmm.
Reminds me, have I resubbed? I don't remember if I've
That makes me laugh the most.
Yeah, I wasn't subbed, but I've gifted like 15 subs.
I know. I can hear them. I'm not deaf. Kids. Friggin' kids. Okay, so who's ready to dive a little bit deeper?
Go for
Sure.
it.
Yep.
Oh god, you're gonna hate me for this one.
Oh no.
What does chosen connection mean when the world misunderstands your wiring? In the sense of, why do we often find neurodivergent characters often gravitate towards found family tropes?
Because they're often misunderstood by their family.
Mhm.
Like attracts like, no?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to have that connection if people don't understand how you connect with people?
I thought you said you have some funny, like,
I do
simpler.
have
No,
some fun questions.
My
They
brain
just
does
can't
not
all
compute.
I do not take responsibility for this question. Every question up to this question, yes, not this one.
Okay.
I
told you some of them were mean. You guys opened the door. I gave you an AI trial. You all went, do you know what? This looks like therapy. I'm here for it. And that opened the door to me really asking the questions that get right to the grit of it. You have let me know that you are okay for not just happy fun time. Gonna also have some maybe times where I make you guys cry instead of just you guys making me cry.
Yeah, well, Nox already made me cry several times.
Nox made all of us cry.
repeatedly.
Yes, he did. Repeatedly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to move
So,
on to a
so by
fun
proxy,
question?
you
No.
did make us
Okay,
cry.
no. I'm gonna answer this
Go on
question.
then.
Okay, so it doesn't matter why, like the meaning of the connection to anyone else doesn't fucking matter. The only person it should matter to is you and the person you have a connection to. Why do you?
Correct.
Why would we care?
Ame brings up a very good point that because I can speak because society hasn't accepted neurodivergence as much as it has now, and we were conditioned to find it so we can find relief from ourselves. That, and we're also from a time where the misquote of blood is thicker than water has been used as a weapon against us.
Oh,
Considering
don't.
it means the opposite
Yeah.
of that, yes, the
Yep.
blood of the covenant.
is thicker
I'm
than the
okay.
waters of
Quick,
the- yes.
quick. Just like if you don't want to partake in this, sure. But actually, like, quick check of how many people have had to cut off family members
Me.
following.
Me.
Yes.
Yes.
Me. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Ame has also
So-
put her hands up in chat.
So like 90% of us.
Mhm.
Let's
Give or
say
take.
like I
My dad
didn't
probably
do it,
is.
but it would probably good for me.
My dad probably is neurodivergent and just isn't diagnosed. He's probably ADHD and dyslexic. I didn't pick up the dyslexic, thank God. So,
No, I was quite lucky.
Mo-
My father's dyslexic, and I haven't picked that up. I say lucky. That's not what I mean. I don't mean in the sense that anyone who
No,
has
No,
we
dyslexia
know what
is
you mean.
unlucky. I just
yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
we know.
enough wrong with me
understand.
and my mental faculties. I don't need more.
As someone who's
Like, I'm playing alphabet
dyslexic
soup
and
at this point.
ADHD, yeah, I wouldn't wish it on. You know what? I would wish it on my parents, but they probably are dyslexic, so you know.
That's the worst part. Is I'm like,
Mhm.
especially with training to be a therapist for people with autism and ADHD. Because I want to help with diagnosis and things like that, I see it more, so then I can see it when it comes to like family members, and then at
You're
the same
adamant that, like,
time,
my family is.
oh no, 100%. Like, that's not even a, let's be real here. That's not even a question.
Why did you get the
Oh.
chill girl?
I don't know.
That
That
was
was the
so
one
cute.
that's the one I opened. It says hype chest is on the way, so bear with it a second. Maybe you'll get it now. There you go. Maybe now you have it. But yeah, chill girl was what I unlocked from level 2. I like the batter up. Look, it's getting ready for you to bonk people.
No, it's also cute, but the chill girl was super cute.
Oh, and yeah, we got the touch of salt too.
Mm-hmm.
What else did we have? We unlocked
I
another
have
one.
3 things from the hype trail. These are the 3 I have.
Oh, I've got quite a few now actually. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There you go. That's all of mine. When they pop up. There we go. I have touch of salt. And we have bits. Thank you, Mike. That's iconic. Our little French one from last week. We've got batter up. We've got button mash. We've got chill girl, and we've got rock out. When you click on the emotes, under like our icon for Twitch, there should also be a little purple train. That should show you your hype train emotes. If you have any unlocked. Oh, I didn't get a chance to say
No,
bye to Rico.
I didn't get the chill girl. I'm sad.
I'm sorry. Maybe chuck another
It's not-
5 in, see
it's
what
not
happens.
your. It.
That
I
is
get
the
it,
only
I
one that
get
I
it.
have.
I have these.
Oh no, you've got one I don't have, because I don't have Who's This Diva.
No, that's I may have.
That's Iconique was funny, because we got that after we'd been talking about French as well. And that was
French,
amazing.
yeah. I got
French invaded.
Who's This Diva from
Zara.
Yeah, when I gave Zara 5 subs last week.
Okay. You ready for a fun one? Ish. I'm going to tack the ish on there.
Thank you, Ember.
Thank you, Ember. Okay. What happens when neurodivergent traits are turned into literal powers? Think Raven Cycle, the Midnight Library, or even X-Men. Do you see neurodivergent metaphors in magical abilities, and do you think that it is enhancing or erasing?
Depends on the media, because like there's people who will use magic to replace other physical to replace physical disabilities, and erase them or enhance them. It's kind of a balancing act.
A trade period. It's been a couple of fantasies I've read have used like the symptoms of like ADHD are just unused magical power. And once you start using your magical powers, your symptoms of ADHD are lessened.
Yep.
And sometimes that's like a great thing to read, and sometimes it's just garbage. Because it's written well.
Okay, so I don't like the idea of neurodivergence being powers. Like, I know it's done. I know I see it in Magic Systems. I see it in a bunch of stuff. I don't like it because I do feel it erases stuff, or it it leads to the, oh, you're autistic. That means I can get, or ADHD. That means I can just give you a topic and you can research it for me, right? And I hate that. It drives me insane because it doesn't work that way, at least not for me. And also it makes it so the little time I actually have to do stuff gets taken away by a hyper obsession, and like it's fun in the moment, and then I wake up and I go, I lost all this time, and I don't know where I am, and why did I do this?
Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
It's okay. But yeah, no. So I generally don't like it.
Anybody else? Ame has said, it makes me feel better about my stuff. I like it because it gives me the opportunities to start the conversation on the topic, which is a good point.
It's, again, if it's portrayed with its, we're actually talking about like X-Men versus the Avengers recently, because we were watching the X-Men films, and one of the things I really enjoyed about the X-Men versus, say, like the Avengers, is that the X-Men feel more human and they feel a lot more flawed, and and almost like the story kind of feels more grounded, like we just want a place to exist.
Yeah, the issue is with the X-Men is it's basically an analogy of any minority community anywhere.
Yeah.
Which obviously then means that for a minority community like ourselves, it does have relatability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not going to get into politics, but certainly now more so than ever, when we see certain things that are happening around the world. And it is good to have that representation in a way of being able to connect yourself to something in terms of media, but I still would like to see more actual representation, not just something
No,
similar enough that I can relate to, but I would love to see more active representation, especially of neurodivergent people,
so
in
this is what
all
I was
their
going to say
forms.
was,
Because again,
with
we're getting a little bit, well, they're being written about, but we're writing in stereotypes or very specific versions of, and it would be really nice to see the entire spectrum.
No, but this was what I was saying. So for me, the idea that they're presented as, yes, again, it's that there has to be a balanced presentation of, sure thing, like analytically, my you look at ADHD and the ability to react to stress. You get put in a surprise situation and you are so immediately on the ball with what to do, and you can navigate it perfectly. But in calm, you really struggle, and
I
that
don't need called out like that, thank you.
no, the presentation of both, I think, is really important, and this is where, like, for me, looking at, obviously seeing, like, looking at, as you said, with like superpowers and stuff, looking at the X-Men, the presentation is a lot of their powers have a lot of downsides. A lot of their powers don't work under specific circumstances, and I like that because you see almost like the counterbalance, and I think there has to be that, really. And as much as I love shows like, say, The Good Doctor, that is such an extreme case.
No, this is what I mean by, but you would get such specific examples instead of
Yeah.
seeing the entire gamut, because you almost get that stereotype of like, oh, I'm going to write an autistic character, so obviously they have no social skills and they're fantastic at maths. And you're like, cool.
Yeah.
That is some autistic people. It's certainly not all autistic people. And the same with the ADHD. Oh, you know, they're really scatty and like their brain is going in a million directions, but they always lose their keys. Ha ha ha. And you're like, okay, again, some, but not all of us. I want to see the full gamut of representation.
I agree on that. Specifically, how do I word this? Okay, so a lot of people don't know I have Tourette's. And when you look at the way Tourette's is portrayed in media or books or movies, you get, it's almost as if they're portrayed like the worst way it can be portrayed. You don't see a lot of the people like me who have very little to nothing. 9 times out of 10, I can meet people for the first time and they will never know I have Tourette's because I never tick around them. I never have problems. But you don't see people like that, like myself, in media or in books. You see the worst side of it. So when I tell people I have Tourette's for the first time, they're like, well, you don't act like it.
Yeah, where's the interrupting everyone with all the wild swear words? Why aren't you doing this? And I think that becomes the problem, and this is where I lean into the, when we're just coding characters, we're still not getting active representation, because the problem we're having is the actual representation we have, as in this character, is introduced to you as diagnosed X, is so much of a stereotype that when you introduce a character now as diagnosed X and you're not using the stereotype, people are like, well, are they really? And you're like, well, yes, because there are other ways of showing it. Because again, it is a spectrum. It's not a black and white. You have it at 100% or you don't have it. And that's what I think we need to see more of. I mean, Ame is saying entertainment takes things and magnifies it for the ease of recognition. Media will make things larger, bolder, more dramatic for the sake of entertainment. Representing characters is kind of forced to be loud because those who don't know what they're looking for won't understand. And I do agree with that. I do agree that we have, not just again with Neurodivergent, but with a lot of communities, we have forced ourselves into this box of, the only way I can portray this character is to portray them as dramatically as possible. Otherwise, people won't get that I'm trying to portray the character this way. And I get that that's a box that they feel they need to tick, but I want to start seeing more of the whole lot, because people won't get used to understanding label meets actions meets coding if they're not shown the full range.
I want to add on to that. One thing I want to see more is, and this is going to sound strange, weird, bad, I want to see neurodivergent people get in trouble for being neurodivergent. Not accepted, just actually, this is what happens when neurodivergent, sometimes, not always, meets the real world. When you have the person who can't stop shaking their leg because, to borrow a TikTok term I saw a while ago, the bees are currently in my legs and I'd like for them to stay in my legs because otherwise they will go to my head and I won't be able to focus. Like, just... because I agree, yeah, we blow things out of proportion in media, for lack of a better term, or I may put it better, basically. But we shouldn't have
dramatize
to.
it for entertainment.
Yeah, but we shouldn't have to. And if we're gonna dramatize it, then dramatize the entire fucking experience.
But also
because
dramatize it correctly.
Yeah, obviously, because
it's
like
something I've spoken about in terms of other things before. yeah, I can understand where you might look at certain symptoms of something and go, this has the power to be amazing for my narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if I dramatize it, this is going to be amazing for my narrative.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing I'm going to focus on. Or I'm going to dramatize it to the point where it's no longer real, just to play on, well, it could be. And you're like, great. But it's not. And the people that are living with that don't need you incorrectly advertising something as fact.
Yeah. Can I answer Ahmed? A lot of authors will struggle for.
A lot of authors will struggle for that because they'll be afraid of being seen as against those traits by those who don't ingest the whole media.
Yeah. So, here's what I want. I am very good at my job, and the only thing my coworkers see is me being fucking amazing at my job. They don't see the crash out when I leave work. They don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see me going fucking insane. And they should. That's not being against the character, that is showing the entire spectrum of that character.
Well, and to kind of go off of that, in a slightly different direction, is like a lot of these like neurodivergent traits are spectrums, and some people, like for me, for instance, when I'm dealing with representation in any regard, is someone's going to look at how I'm representing it, even if it's how I experience it when it comes to like neurodivergent. I'll do it how I experience it. But someone else can look at it and go, ew, that's not a good representation because that's not how I experience it. And that's something like I worry about. But not, like media in general, you can see stuff like that as well.
But I think that's where it's really important to remember that the whole conversation is that not every experience is the same.
No, and you're not,
Yeah,
and we're not going to
and-
get representation of every. If you think of like ADHD as there's a set of 6 traits, and people will get a 1 to 5 on each of those 6 individual traits, and that will make up what their ADHD is. We're not going to see representation of every single type possible within that 1 to 5 over 6. It's not going to happen. But I would still love to see more varied representation instead of just, I'm going to write an autistic character who's got shit social skills but is amazing at math. He may as well be the next Stephen Hawking. And I'm going to write an ADHD character who's super creative but can't remember to eat. And they're the only 2 bits of traits I'm going to put on these 2 characters because that's enough to cover the entire community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay. But also, again, a little bit of what you said. I'm going to show the drawbacks of these things in a light-hearted way instead of the reality being that, oh yeah, you know, I'm writing a college romance, and I'm going to use an ADHD as my main character. So I'm going to write that she can smash out entire presentations for her classes the night before. She never studies beforehand. You know, she leaves everything to the last minute, and then she always smashes it out of the park, always gets the best grade possible, top of the class, even though she never does anything. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But are you then going to show the complete burnout that comes from doing that? Like the 3 days afterwards where brain just does not brain.
An example I give in chat. So, like, what I would like to see is the combination of, oh, you're super good at whatever thing, while also getting weird looks, being stigmatized for stimming at a work meeting, and I do both, and I get both basically, and I don't feel it's fair representation to show only the good. I don't think. Actually, let me rephrase that. I don't think it's good representation.
I think it's difficult though, because unless it was, how to explain this? Obviously, when you look at a lot of film and media and things, it's really hard to, because you have a limited window in which to portray things, and you need to portray events and not people. It can be different. In books, I think there's a lot more space to, like, discuss, you know. I mean, the experience for me having to go on a surprise work meeting suddenly, and it's only a 10-minute call, but the panic of that phone ringing, and then me having to suddenly put on a voice that is welcoming and not, you know, like, exhausted, and trying to, like, then think of the right things to say at the right time. And one of the worst things for me is if I have like a script to follow in my head, so I will introduce, you know, I'll say my name and how are you doing, and they'll be like, I'm good. Okay, you're now meant to ask me how I'm doing. That's how the conversation goes, is I ask you and then you respond, then you ask me and then I respond, and then we continue into the conversation from there. You don't do that. Suddenly I'm ripping my hair out because I'm stuck. You've not done the next step. The script hasn't been followed. And in like media, in film and TV and things, that internal could necessarily be expressed through like physical portrayal, as in like you see them like pacing and pulling, you know, like they could be stimming or whatever. But in books, I think there's so much more space to talk about that internal monologue of like the experience of it. And so I think for portrayal of neurodivergence, because a lot of it is such an internal experience that is then expressed externally, being able to have that internal monologue in a book is so much easier of a space to talk about it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
But it is that, like, it's so hard to talk about the after effects of things, because the whole point of, like, when you look at media and things is we're discussing events and not particularly people. Whereas in a situation where you're wanting to explore neurodivergence, we're talking about the people. And that's where it is a difficult thing to cover, which is why I think books are a much better place to do it. I mean, if you could have...
You can explain nuance in books better than you can in...
No, exactly. You have that internal monologue, and you can talk about, you know, the being able to describe something, the use of like metaphor and simile. You can't do that in film and television. You can do that in a book.
You're also not limited to a 42-minute runtime.
Everybody's got a stretch.
Okay.
So, you know, being able to sit there and go like, you know, you could literally explain the experience I just talked about, you know, internally in a book, of being like, you know, why aren't they saying this? What do I say next? Why haven't they, you know, they've not done this? And suddenly you see them, they're sat there, and for me, like, I will scratch my neck, or I will start like, I'll start picking at my wrist, or I'll start cracking my knuckles, or I'll do anything I can because I'm stuck, or my hands will start flapping, or and it's that, you know, it'd be really interesting to see how it'd be done. And yeah, I think the books have such a good space to talk about the neurodivergent experience, because it is such an internal experience. But there has to be that recognition that, you know, you look at autism, it's a spectrum of things. What I have a sensitivity to, you might not have a sensitivity to, and yet we will have shared sensitivities as well. You know, like I said, one of the big things for me, I had a panic attack, I had a full meltdown trying to swim. You know, it's simply going to the pool. I had to get up early, and it was the first time I've been swimming in ages. So I've gone to the pool, and there's no one at the front desk. So I'm stood there, and my time slot has started, and I'm still not in the pool yet because the person at the front desk isn't there. So I'm waiting, and I'm getting anxious. And then I forget that you still need £1 to lock the lockers. So suddenly I've left my stuff unlocked and my wallet's in there and my phone's in there and I'm panicking about that. And then the showers aren't like working, so I can't wash myself before I get in, and that's the instruction, so I have to follow that, but I can't follow it because they're not working, so I kind of have to go in, and I feel really it's such a bad start to it. And then I get in the pool, and the it's a big glass dome, so it's hot, and there's the smell of the chlorine and the lights reflecting off the pool, which is shimmering, so it's like flashing me in the eyes, and I can hear people talking, but because it's echoing, it sounds like there's 1,000 people. And I'm walking in, and people's heads are turning to me, and I'm suddenly being perceived on the side of this pool. And then I get in the water and I can feel the water and it splashes me in the face, and that's like weird. And then I'm trying to swim, and I've not been swimming in years, so I can't get the rhythm down, and suddenly a bit of water gets in my mouth or it gets in my nose, and I suddenly feel like I'm drowning, and I had to get out within 5 minutes. And I sat on the phone to you, didn't I?
Mhm.
Like on the verge of throwing up, like crying because I got in a pool. And to anyone else, it would literally just be, oh yeah, like you just went swimming, what's the fuck? And then actually breaking it down and talking about that, trying to show that in a film versus just like exploring that in a piece of writing are two, so many, it's like such a different thing to be able to do. So yeah, I think books have a great space to talk about it. I think film and TV is where people will struggle.
Okay.
But yeah.
So to round off this evening, how many authors do you know of books that you've read are neurodivergent?
One.
At the top of my head, no one, but I don't remember these kinds of things about authors. I barely remember what things they've written.
Now, what if
Off the top of my head, one.
What if I told you that actually quite a few of the bestsellers over the last few years have actually been by neurodivergent authors?
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, no surprise.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would be actually, my brain just died.
For instance, Ali Hazelwood, who wrote Love Theoretically and The Professor's Love Equation, is diagnosed neurodivergent. India Holton, who has a book that was in our mystery lineup this month, which is the something Scandalous Ladies. I can think of the name. It's totally there in my head. Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. She's a historical fiction and fantasy novelist. She is. T. Kingfisher, who is well known for her horror and fantasy novels, has both autism and ADHD. Matt Haig, the author of The Midnight Library, is diagnosed and often shares his journey through his multiple diagnoses on his Instagram, as well as being a writer. And I can't remember her name. Casey, I want to say Casey McQuiston, writer of Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's also just recently been made into a Netflix show, I want to say. Is also ADHD. So it is good to see that we are starting to get more representation in terms of authors, but also in terms of characters being written by neurodivergent authors, so therefore having a little bit more grounding in reality. And we're starting to see them hit bestseller lists, which is a big step up.
I just realized a series with good representation without using the words for it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Scholomans series by Naomi Novik.
Mhm.
And the fact that the main character actually stays. She still has these symptoms. They are lessened with the use of magic, but they're still there. It's like the use of magic is like taking the medicine. It doesn't remove things. It just helps you manage the symptoms you have.
Bye, Ame.
Bye, Ame.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Amy did leave a parting thought of getting to see other characters' thoughts in a situation is why I much prefer third person writing over first person. You don't get that internal thoughts and direct comparison of minds in first person. First person feels like having to choose between being able to smell or taste during a meal. I have to say I do agree, with that. I think third person.
That's why I'm writing
is a
in third
preference.
person.
Yeah, I have to say I think it's a preference for me. I like to not necessarily be the character. I would rather be almost floating above, essentially.
But yeah, I was gonna make a comment of with Ame knowing. Well, I've got their book sitting on my bookshelf. I haven't read it yet. Does that count? But no, my brother-in-law just caught a woodpecker, so I had to go see that.
That was interesting. Caught a woodpecker. Isn't he just went out and went, I'm having you?
It was on the bird feeder. He's like yoink, and caught it.
God, sigh, it's you. We on Friday we walked into town and we have a very nice park here
Yoink.
that has a big pond that has ducks. And so we were like, we'll grab some lunch and we'll go and sit by the pond and just watch the ducks. And when we got there, there was like 6 of them all laying, obviously chilling out in the sun on the edge of the water and right in front of where we're sat on the benches. And then I'm having to sit there through the entirety of our lunch being like, no, you're not grabbing a duck. You're not taking it home. Where are we going to put it? Also, you can't just take one because it would need a friend, but you can't take 2 boy ducks because then they'll fight. This is going to be a nightmare. Leave the ducks alone.
No, I didn't want to take it home. I just wanted it to sit on my lap while I had lunch.
I've watched this
Wild
guy
duck.
catch geese, like straight up just catch geese.
I absolutely 100% would just sit there and have ducks and geese and all sorts. Any animal in particular, really. I have saved pigeons. Uni was quite funny because every other week I was coming home with a different animal, and I lived with 18 girls who found it very, very, very terrifying to like walk outside and realize that like I'd caught a squirrel, or there was a mouse that had been injured, or there was a pigeon with a broken wing, or whatever it was, just like carrying it around. It was fun.
So
I am not
picture of
even
him
a little
holding
bit
woodpecker.
surprised.
I pull up the Discord chat so I can put the pictures of him holding the woodpecker in it.
Yoink.
Yep.
Wink.
Do you want to do the
Yeah.
wrap up?
What?
Do you want to do the wrap up?
Yeah, totally, because I
get a
know what
blanket.
comes next.
Okay.
Oh, it's a
So,
little one. Sorry, I got distracted by the woodpecker.
Sidetracked.
Do you not remember?
Tuesday. That's what I'm talking about.
Tuesday. We are talking about Tuesday. Yeah?
And then I don't have to talk about anything else between now and Tuesday, do I?
No.
Okay. So
Just Tuesday.
Tuesday is obviously on Tuesday we do our variety streams. So this week, instead of playing a game, we're going to do something a bit different, and we're just going to have a good old-fashioned book chat. So we're going to talk about what you're reading, what you've seen recently that's caught your eye, if you are doing book of the month, which ones you're reading, or if you're doing both, how far are you enjoying them. Obviously spoiler free for anyone that's not as far in as you, or for instance with me where I've finished them. If you have finished them, by the way, you can definitely slide into my DMs, because I need people to talk about shit with, especially for Little Red Death, please and thank you. But yeah, we're going to have a good old-fashioned chinwag and just talk all things bookish. And then possibly some other little announcement-y things thrown in there too, because gotta have some fun.
Wouldn't be book club without it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to, I have to say thank you, Yune, for your order today.
You are welcome. Thank you,
Two
Housebound.
orders we've had now, which is
You're welcome.
super exciting. So pre-orders are still open, guys, if you want to have a look at what's on the website. And there is going to be a next wave at some point. I'm not allowed to give time frames anymore because I have a tendency to put myself on a much shorter time frame than I should give myself.
Yeah.
So I am trying to behave now by saying that things may happen at some point. Sooner rather than later. So then if I go crazy and I put everything up in like a week, then cool. But if I also have other things that pop up, I don't let you guys down by not sticking to my deadlines.
You're not gonna guilt yourself into feeling shit.
Yes. I'm gonna try anyway.
Please and thank you.
Guilt is my friend. Guilt gets shit done.
Yeah. But
also, yeah, I would like some time to do other things. It's been quite nice to have a little bit of a weekend off and be able to just sort of chill out and do other stuff. I'm not particularly great at relaxing, I've now learnt.
You're telling me. You are fucking telling me.
Yeah, it was
Jesus
quite funny
Christ.
because when we had the conversation about me taking time off, I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna like step away from like the internet as a whole for a little bit, and we're gonna chill out. We're gonna spend time in the sun. I did obviously my Costco run, which might not be relaxing for some people. I find that very relaxing. And we went out for lunch with the family and everything, and it was really, really nice. And then I was sat there last night and I was like, oh, I've had a thought. And a thought turns into a plan, and I start planning things and I start putting things together, and Sai's like, no, you're relaxing. And that turned into a mini Minty Bee, as I like to call them, because I think it sounds more fun. Which was essentially his idea of relaxing, the idea of literally just not doing anything or doing very specific, set, relaxing things, was my idea of pure and utter torture. Because I love reading, and I had done a lot of reading up to this point, and I'd got to the point where I was like, I need to step away from that, and I need to stimulate my brain because I'm starting to go crazy. So I'm going to put my book down for a bit. I've finished 2. I've started on the 3rd. This is a good point to step away for a little while. Let me go and boost my brain a bit, do some planny, funny things, because I find it fun. And then I can go back to the chilly, boring, slow stuff. And yeah, so that was a very fun conversation where Sai then got to see sort of live in front of him that like the idea of not thinking of anything wasn't just very difficult to do, but was also quite torturous because then it just felt like I had a load of energy and nowhere to put it.
Oh.
And so it makes you feel a little bit like you're going out of your own brain.
I do that same thing.
I need to do stuff. Like the funny thing is, yes, last week was, for all honesty, a lot. it was a lot for me. I was doing a lot of things for a lot of different people, and on top of that, trying to do things for myself and normal family stuff. And I was stacking quite a lot of plates, and it was a lot. But then trying to explain to somebody who doesn't see things in the same way that you do, and this is nothing against Goose, because obviously his brain is just different to mine, but trying to explain that while yes, this week was a lot, I only needed to take 1 or 2 things out for it to be perfect. Not stop everything and step away from it all completely, because that for me is hell. Coding, for instance, which is a new thing for me, is something I actually find, for as frustrating as it can be, fascinatingly calming. Which I never thought I would, because I didn't really know anything about I didn't know anything about coding, and so I had a very set idea of what coding would be in my head. But for me, it works out as essentially a multitude of little achievements that ends as one big achievement. And so for me, that's just like, it's a gold mine of dopamine. And so I really like it. I could do that all day, every day. To the point where if you have had a nosy around the website, you may find that some pages are probably a little over the top for a Discord book club. But
What?
hey, why go big or go home, right? I have
It's very,
I'm very
well
proud of. I call it laziness, but I know that I should say that it's clever automation. There are parts of it where, purely because I know that if I have to do something manually, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to forget to do it. So I have figured out a way to set it up that something else does it for me, so I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so, like, the childish glee I get when I get something like that to work is fantastic. So I'm like, maybe tech isn't that boring.
Well, I love the website so much. It is now my go-to for my family to get gifts, because I can't get anything off of it.
When you say you can't get anything off it, for a technical reason, or?
Mm-mm.
It's a technical reason. We've
PayPal
already
issue.
talked
PayPal
about
thing?
this.
Yeah.
No, wait. We have a solution. Drop it.
Okay.
You don't need to get involved. Moving along.
I
No, kitten. Moving along.
Kitten, DM me.
Okay.
God fucking damn it! No, do not DM her.
Hey, I outrank you.
Ari outranks you. I'm sorry.
I outrank you both here and as a whole. Ha ha ha. Double the outranking.
I zoned out. I'm not sure I want to know.
I'm just throwing my weight around.
Okay. Same old, same old.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What's the fun of having power if you don't abuse it every so often?
Okay.
Me at work.
Not all the time. If you do that, you're a bad un. I just occasionally need to remind you that I don't always play by the rules.
Uh-huh. That's every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, actually every day when it comes to me. So I don't need that reminder,
Well,
Ari.
I'm just making sure
Can
you
I-
don't forget.
can
You're
I-
a busy guy. It might slip your mind.
That's fair. Can I attempt to actually like mitigate some of your stress?
I've done
Can I do
that. I've had 2
You can
days and I've
attempt.
read 3 books. I de-stressed. I am as chill as a cucumber.
Fuck it. You know
She
what?
now
Everyone.
needs something to do.
Yeah, now,
Okay,
no,
you know
no.
what? I changed
this is
changed
why,
my mind.
This is
If you
why
have
we
tech
went from.
issues, please DM Ari.
No, this is genuinely why we went from. I have like lay in bed and read books, and then went. I could build an app, because my brain was like, you need to do something. If you
Got it.
don't do something, I'm going to rot. challenge me. And I was like, you know what? Bet. Let's figure out an app. I gave up on figuring out the app, by the way, because Python makes no sense to me. I feel like I have got to grips with HTML and CSS and JS, and I've understood that body of coding, but Python is just like, what the fuck? And my AI doesn't seem to understand, you need to talk to me like you're talking to a child, like it did with the other coding. It seems to think, yeah, but we've done that now, so you'll totally understand this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Please stop.
The base is done now.
Yeah. It's like, you've done this, you're fine. I'm like, no, I don't know what these things mean.
Either way.
But yes, on that, thank you guys for a fun session tonight. Session? Stream? That was the word I was looking for. Not session.
Go
but
work.
Sure.
Same.
We managed to not actually derail, technically speaking, because all of our derailing tonight was neurodivergent focused, because we all spicy. So technically, stayed on track all night. How amazing is that?
There was no way for us to fail tonight, basically.
And we didn't.
I mean, okay.
Amazing.
And we didn't.
And we
High
still
five,
didn't.
guys. High five.
High five.
So yes, we will see you obviously in Discord if you're in Discord. If you're not in Discord, you can find the link there. It worked. Whoop. You should come and join us. It is a barrel of laugh and a whole lot more cozy chaos. Chaos in bold. And yeah, otherwise, for you Twitch guys, we will see you on Tuesday, where we're going to be having our good old-fashioned book chat. I'm excited for. This will be the first stream that has been entirely planned by somebody else.
Oh. Eli?
Eli. Because I stepped away to have a bit of break.
Okay.
So we all can blame Eli if something goes wrong.
It's technically it is planned by you. You've written up the planning. You actually came up with the idea for it, and then you wrote up the plan. So it's yours.
Please don't let me. Please don't have me lead book club.
I'm not going to have you lead book club. Don't worry. I'm still going to lead it. I just feel like the recognition needs to be there that this is the first time that I am letting the grip on my control go a little bit. And you have planned out what I think looks to be a very, very good stream. And I'm very excited for it.
I don't know what to do with this.
This is called a compliment, Eli.
You say thank you.
You say thank you, and you accept it, and then we go and have a good time next week, and everyone goes, wow, that was really cool. Thanks, Eli. And you go, awesome. And you take all that dopamine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Y'all gonna learn to accept compliments, whether it kills me.
Learn to accept compliments. Ugh.
I know, right?
See, yeah, you all say that, and yet when I turn around and say that I love you guys because you're amazing, you're all like, "Oh, thank you." So you do accept compliments.
Yeah. Oh, because we have to.
We
have
take
to
the first
for your
part,
yell.
The second one we
Well,
don't
this is
need
true.
to do.
Yeah, you accept my love.
Yes.
No. It's also the all you guys. That's not.
Oh,
don't
push me.
Spot.
I will tag each of you individually and write a small "This is why I love you" message to every single one of you. Don't fucking think I won't.
Look, I need whatever ego boosts I can to actually finish writing what I'm writing. So,
if you are writing something, this goes for everybody. First of all, I am a proofreader and editor by trade. Secondly, I arc read for fun, so please send me your stuff. I want to read it.
Okay.
You are
when I
attached
get
to my
closer
stuff.
to finished, I may send you it.
I am going to
Well,
be.
all of my stuff is first draft vomit on the page, so it's really not great, but it gets the bones.
I spent years editing fan fiction. So
Okay. So you're
you're good.
experienced.
You're good.
It's just at this point I'm not looking for like editing information. I'm looking for like, is it somewhat coherent? Does it make sense type thing?
I'm going to point out that that all comes under the editing experience.
I was just about to say.
Because there is...
Well,
a lot of people don't know this,
okay,
actually. Just before I go on a slight tangent here, and then Eli's going to have a go at me because I'm supposed to close down stream. On my slight tangent, a lot of people don't know that editing is actually there are 5 different styles of editing. And each of those styles covers a different thing. So proofreading, for instance, is we're looking for grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, right spelling but wrong word, because that gets missed a lot in like Word. Because Word will check for something spelled incorrectly, but not necessarily a word spelled correctly that shouldn't be in that sentence. But then you'll have like developmental editing, which is the story flowing? Are you using the right characters in the right place? You haven't accidentally named the wrong character here, or have you missed something and are leaving people confused but not on purpose? And how is the flow of this going? And yeah, there's a lot more to it. So something I say when I do work with clients when it comes to editing is, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to read through and just give you do I think this is good? Do I think this is bad? Do I think it's somewhere in between? Do you just want some feedback? Do you want me to point out where like there might be some structuring issues? Or do you want me to point out any spelling mistakes? Do you want the whole lot? Because I can give you everything. I can tell you everything from, I loved all of these characters except this one because I don't think you gave them enough to flesh them out, and so I think they were pointless. So I would either give them more or get rid of them because they were useless. Or I can just literally send you a draft with my little red pen going, this is the wrong word, this sentence doesn't make sense, this is spelled wrong.
Speaking
Yes.
of editing things, the book I was reading, one of the dividers hadn't been put in place because it was parentheses insert header divider here parentheses.
It is one thing, I have DNF'd books that have been traditionally published that have been very poorly edited, because for me, if you're going through a traditional publishing house where they have a team of editors and the editors have done that poor a job, it's going to be unreadable. So I have DNF'd books, not because the story is not great, because I'm sure it probably is, but just because for me it's unreadable, because I'm like, why are there this many mistakes in it?
Yeah, like a shuffling of letters in a word here and there. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, I've
but
had
when it's
like I've seen the occasional like the wrong there, and you know for a fact that that's just, we all do it. Everyone puts there as in over there instead of there as in theirs, and spell check's not picked it up or an editor's missed it, and a little thing like that you can be like, yeah, okay, fine. But there was one book I picked up and I paid for it as well, which really pissed me off because it wasn't cheap. And I was really excited to read it because the story seemed really great, and literally the first 10 pages were pure and utter shite. It was so badly edited for things like comments being put in brackets that weren't removed, and I was like, someone's fucked up and sent the wrong copy to the publishers. Somebody has sent a review copy for printing by accident, I swear, because this is so bad. There's no way this has passed all the checks. Indie authors I will give 100% more leeway to, because y'all are doing so much of that shit on your own. You don't deserve to lose out because you've missed something, because there is a level of training that comes with editing that people don't realize, because your brain is trained to read the first 3 letters of a word and then fill in the gap. So you will miss things a lot. And so it is very difficult to turn on that, having to slow down and read every single word individually. So I understand why there are errors. I don't give that leeway to someone who's just charged me $20 for a book that's come from, like, Penguin Publishing, who have a team that rivals our Discord just for editing.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah.
I've
Y'all
done
can
the
do
same,
better.
actually. Well, we'll see everyone on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
See you Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.